What's up, everybody? This is Casey Washag with the Rolling for Revenue podcast, your Jiu Jitsu business podcast. Guys, if you're looking to level up your school, create more impact in your area, and create the lifestyle that you want to live, and this is the podcast for you. I don't know about you guys, but it's very hard for me to go on Facebook and Instagram. One out of every 5 new followers I get is some sort of marketing agency, some 18-year-old dude who can get me 30 new students in 15 minutes. And I really feel for everybody. I feel for all the school owners who are struggling to get by. Marketing agencies are like drugs. Let me explain. I've never done heroin. I hear it's addictive. I hear once you start, it's very hard to stop, and you create this cycle. That is the same thing marketing agencies do to you, especially when you don't have the fundamentals and the foundation of a good business already in place when you hire one of these people. It's not hard to get new members. What's hard is to keep new members. So this is the crux. This is the issue, is it's, you're not making a lot of money. You're struggling. You're like, I just need to get some more bodies in here. You hire one of these agencies. If you don't go to them with what you want your advertising to be, many times they are going to create the advertising that gets you the most people in the door as possible. The problem is it might not align with who your current clientele is. All right. So I'm going to tell you a story, and you guys might recognize this because this started to make its way into jiu-jitsu, and thank God it didn't. Thank God it didn't become as prevalent in jiu-jitsu as it became in fitness, because it destroyed the fitness industry. It destroyed the market's trust in personal training studios and gyms in general, because this thing blew up and it was everywhere. It was called the 6-week challenge. It's still out there, just not as prevalent as it was. It started to make its way into jiu-jitsu, and I think it petered out, which I am extremely happy about, because it would have destroyed jiu-jitsu too. So the 6-week challenge was marketed as a free 6-week workout challenge where you're going to lose a bunch of weight. So number one, it was marketed as free. Then when you show up, they sell you on it, and they say, well, look, in order to give you the accountability to make sure you show up, I need you to put $400 or $500 down. Okay. So they do that. And they say, you'll get it back when you lose 20 pounds in 6 weeks. And a lot of people are like, okay, let's do it. Just understand for a second, this thing was built on people failing. How does the gym make money if they're giving the money back? Kind of crappy. It's already, once I started this coming into the fitness industry, already I had a bad taste in my mouth, because I know people who were like, I can do it, I'm going to do it. And then they lose 18 pounds, which in 6 weeks is phenomenal. That's 3 pounds a week. But they felt like a loser. They didn't get their money back. And something that we should be celebrating, the fact that they lost 18 pounds, they didn't. And now they're discouraged because they didn't get their money back, but the gym got its money. So this was very hard for us to watch, all these people buying into this. One of the bigger problems that there's so many different issues that came with this program. Number 2 issue was, this was a quick fix program, meaning people did lose 20 pounds in 6 weeks, but a lot, like I watched it on Facebook where people I know were doing it, and they're like, only 4 pounds away, no more water for me. So they were like cutting weight like we do in jiu-jitsu for tournaments. That's not a long-term sustainable approach to lose weight. That is a quick fix. So that is, you're going to step on the scale and get your your $500 back. You're going to lose your 20 pounds. And then what happens? What happens to us after we cut weight, we step on the scale, what do we then do? We rehydrate, right? We blow up another 5-7 pounds at least, depending on how much we were losing. And then what do we do after the tournament? We usually celebrate the tournament, right? You're having a burger for the first time in weeks. You're having some beer first time in weeks. Well, what do you think these people do? For 6 weeks, they were basically in their camp themselves, and they lost the 20, and they were cutting weight to do it. So it's not like they changed all their habits. They cut weight to make sure that when they stepped on the scale, like us, they weighed 20 pounds less, and then immediately rehydrate and then celebrate. That's the second problem that was wrong with this. The third problem, and the most important problem that it did, was it flooded gyms with a different clientele that wasn't there for the long-term habit change like a lot of other personal training studios had. So a lot of personal training studios have people who are like, let's say they're a golfer, and they're like, I go to Casey twice a week. Tuesday and Thursdays are my days. He works me out, stretches me out, and this is to keep me on the golf course, right? So they're like what we call lifestyle clients. And I would say all of our jiu-jitsu students are lifestyle clients. A lot of times we don't treat them as such, or we take that for I'll take that back. We take that for granted that they're lifestyle clients, when we should be constantly nurturing them along the way, letting them know, like, you are getting deeper and deeper into this lifestyle. You are getting better at this. You're doing phenomenal. A lot of times we sign them up, and especially, like, I'll say once they get their blue belt, we're more fixated on the new people than we are the people who've been coming to us for years. So the third problem is that you have your diehards, your lifestyle clients, and then all of a sudden this challenge brings in all these people into the gym that aren't aligned with the gym's long-term mission. It's a money grab. And so what it does is it ends up killing the culture of the gym, because you have two conflicting ideologies: people who are in this for the long term, and then people who want the quick fix. And because there was an investment for the gym owner to do this program, and all of a sudden he's seeing immediate returns, because guess what? He collected $500 from 30, 40 people, and there's 6 weeks before he has to potentially give all that money back, right? Or some of it back. So what ends up happening is you have these two conflicting ideologies in the same space, and it crushes the foundation of your business, the lifestyle clients, because there are blue belts, purple belts, brown belts, they're in, right? They're in. Whereas this influx of money just came in from these newer clients. So that's where the attention goes. So many gyms started doing this program, money started coming in, culture was broken, and over time, they had to do it again and again and again. This is where the drugs analogy comes in, because I'll also say this: there were gyms who brought people in, and this company that ran the program, that taught them how to do the program, controlled everything. But then when these people graduated, if they decided to stay, the offerings were so different that the people were like, well, I really love doing this, and this isn't as fun, isn't exciting, isn't as good. So then they left, because there was a conflict with how things were run. Things were run one way at the start, a lot of attention, a lot of camaraderie, a lot of bells and whistles, a lot of hand holding. And then all of a sudden, when you sign up long-term with us, that goes all away. And people are like, well, that was really fun. I want that again. I'm like, well, no, we don't. You did that. Now you got to do this. So what ends up happening is there's a huge drop off from people graduating this program. So you have to do it again. And so, like, if you got 40, 50 people, maybe 10 end up staying. And there was this influx of cash. A lot of it you got to keep because they failed, which is a weird way to celebrate, right? And I think, so anyways, 30 Plus people fail, they get discouraged, leave. So you get to keep that money. You got a fraction of them who decide to stay. Some of them fall off. So you have to do this thing again. Like the drugs, it becomes addictive. Like, no, I need that rush again. I need that rush of 40 people in here. I need that rush. I need that rush. And whatever is bringing, and these marketing agencies, a lot of them are just getting you that fix of 20, 30 people, but only a fraction stay because you don't have the foundation built to keep these people. I love watching those like Restaurant Impossible and Bar Rescue and all these restaurant shows. And you know what, one of the first things they do to find out where the bottlenecks are and where the business falls short is they overload the business at the front. So when one of these guys, when Gordon Ramsay comes in, or the Bar Rescue guy, or all these different guys, one of the first things they do is let's overload the business with new people and see how they handle it. Where do they fall short? Where are the shortcomings of the business? And maybe the service is slow, maybe the cook is slow, maybe the cook's, overwhelmed and not cooking things fully, maybe the bartenders are taking their sweet time. Whatever it is, they break the business by overloading it with people. Now, mind you, not everyone in those customers had a bad experience. There's a fraction who are like, this is cool, I'd come back. But the majority are like, no, food took too long, food was undercooked, server was stressed out, my drink came out wrong, whatever. So these agencies fill your gym with 30, 40 people, but only a fraction stay because their journey's not mapped out. The fundamentals of the business aren't set. But none of this stuff is sexy. This is jujitsu. This is your brand new white belt wants to berimbolo, but he doesn't know how to hold side control. Like, there's some fundamentals we need to learn first before we can get into the Hollywood moves, right? So, and you see this all the time. You see some, especially with kids, you can tell which kids skip the fundamentals and got to the Instagram moves that are real flashy, but there's fundamentals that they're missing. There's gaps in their game because they're not fun, they're not sexy, they don't look good on your social media because it's basic fundamental jiu-jitsu. And this, for me, is what I see. I'm watching it. I'm watching people I know. I know when you're working with an agency, blatantly obvious when you're working with an agency. And all of a sudden I'm watching your whole marketing angle change, but in many cases, unfortunately, those are dollars not well spent, because what's going to happen is you're going to bring a lot of people in for whatever reason. Majority are going to fall through the cracks. And guess what they're going to say? I tried it. It was all right, but I really love this place I'm at now. So it's almost detrimental to the business, like drugs, that you're jumping the gun, you're jumping the fundamentals to then get people in. And unfortunately, we just don't have the journey mapped out. We don't have the fundamentals set to be able to take them from point A to point B and be able to service them, give them great customer service. And yes, a fraction are going to stay. And I've said this 1,000 times, that jiu-jitsu right now is only the strong survive. So the strong being the people who don't care that they have to go buy their own gi because you don't provide or you don't have any for them. They don't care that you haven't talked to them in a week. They've been there every day, but no one acknowledges them. They're the strong. They're the ones who overlook all these things, but they're the minority. And there's definitely a large majority who's used to good customer service in other areas of their life. Like if they went to a poorly run restaurant, they're leaving a review. or they're never going back. And we need to realize that we're in that world too. If we don't do something well, people are going to tell other people not to try us out. So what ends up happening, since we skip these fundamentals, is we get our first rush of clients. We're like, man, this is working. There's a bump in revenue. And then all of a sudden it starts dipping again because these people are falling through the cracks. And a lot of times too, once again, just like that 6-week challenge, your diehards are going to notice who's getting the most of the attention, and they are going to start resenting as well, especially if there's a disconnect with the clientele. So this is where then we got to do it again, because guess what? I had 40 people in here and 5 stayed. Well, I need to do it again. 35 more people and 3 stayed this time, do it again. So it's like you're spending a ton of money. You're not creating more goodwill because only a fraction are staying. What you're actually doing is you're training the market to stay away from you because you're not treating people. And it's not that you're intentionally doing this. It's not that you're treating people poorly. It's just your systems are in place or lack thereof. There aren't systems in place to treat them right and to give them the white glove experience. So what ends up happening is that a ton of people come in, a small fraction stay, and that ton of people coming in are never going to look at you as an option again. So was it worth it? Marketing is one of the last things I do when I work with a school, because I want to make sure that if you put $1 towards Facebook, $100, $200, $1,000, whatever, that there's going to be a return, and a long-term return. We call it lifetime customer value, meaning I need to know that when I spend a marketing dollar and I get a client, on average, that client spends X amount of months, X amount of years with me. Then knowing that and creating that system, the systems in place to cultivate that, I'll pour marketing dollars on this all the time. So like, for example, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds with marketing, but you'll get people who they spend $500 on Facebook and they get one client. We'll just make numbers easy. It's $200 a month. Is that a win that you spend $500 on Facebook, but only one person walked through the door and signed up for $200 a month? A lot of people would say no. I would say you don't have all the data to make a decision if that was good or not. Now, the data that really matters is how long do people typically stay with you? If people typically stay 10 months with you, and that $200 a month just turned into $2,000. So would you spend $500 to make $2,000? I would. So this is where we need to have all the data to know that when we spend marketing dollars, we know people on average spend 12 months, 10 months, 3 years, whatever that number is. Most of us don't know that number, but a lot of your CRMs, the Zen planners, the mind bodies, the wellness livings, they will tell you what your lifetime customer value is because you're constantly adding people, canceling people, freezing people. So it'll give you a report and tell you on average how long people stay with you. So then that makes these decisions very easy. But like we were talking about, we need to make sure that the foundations are in place, that we cultivate this long-term relationship with people. Otherwise, that lifetime customer value starts shrinking and shrinking until it's 2 months, 3 months. And then it's not worth spending money on marketing because you're not keeping people long enough. So guys, this is just something to think about. And this is my big worry, is that a lot of what I talk about in these podcasts and things like this and in the book are not sexy, but what they are for is a long-term thriving business. Sexy is filling your gym with 40 people that paid you $500. What's not sexy is 6 weeks later, most of those people leave, a fraction of them stay, and now you created all this ill will. And that's a lot of these gyms went out of business because they tainted their name inside their market. A lot of us listening to this are not in New York City, are not in these large cities where every marketing campaign is going to be seen by brand new faces. Some of us live in small towns where our reputation is everything. And the last thing you want to do is burn your goodwill with your community by doing what we call a bait and switch. It's free, but psych, it's not free. I need you to put $500 down. And if you lose 20 pounds, whether you need to or not, you will get your money back. And psych, you lost 18, which is phenomenal, but you're still a loser. So do you want to stay? And then do you want to battle with my long-term clients who've I've been neglecting to take care of these new people who just paid me $500? So now my long-term clients are a little PO'd because there's all these new people coming in and my focus shifted to the new people, not even paying attention to the people who've been supporting me for years. So guys, watch it with these marketing agencies. It's a drug. It's a hard habit to kick. They're necessary if you don't want to learn how to market and run your own business. Then you will forever need a marketing agency. But there's a time and place. When I coach a school, one of the last things I do with them is market. There's ways to get internal wins and money in the bank from the people who are currently already paying us and building the structure, the foundation of good business systems so that when I do market, it's not like sand falling through my fingers. Instead, it's like marbles falling into my hand. Nobody falls through because I'm catching everybody. I'm treating everybody right. And I am just creating a ton of goodwill in my community. I would argue that one of the last things you need to do is Facebook marketing, but I understand that a lot of us are struggling to get by. So we do this Hail Mary pass. You just, a lot of times, and I've watched this, I know so many friends who went out of business because they started going after the shiny object, which is the marketing, and we'll put 65 members in your gym in the next 20 days. And it's like, can you handle that? Can you remember 65 new people's names the third day they come in? It'd be a lot easier if 3 people came in today, 2 people come in tomorrow, so on and so forth. But flooding your gym most of the time, just like those restaurant shows, it breaks the business. And unfortunately, instead of us fixing the business after that, what we do is we do it again because a fraction stayed, right? So it's like, cool, if I do it again, I'll get 5 more people and then 5 more people. But there's more goodwill that's being destroyed. Your reputation's being destroyed long term for 5 people because 35 left. All right, guys, not to be a downer, but there's a time and place to market. And I would say it's after you start building these systems, start building the customer journey, start building your sales system, start building your tiered pricing, building all these things so that when someone does come through the door, it's super sticky and they love it and they get a great experience, whether if one comes in or 60. All right, guys, if you got value from this, comment, like, share, subscribe to the YouTube, go to rollingforrevenue.com, get your Rolling for Revenue book. It's free, just pay for the shipping. Keep changing lives, and I'll see you on the mats.